Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, Pretty Pink Craft Room. Thank you so much for joining me today for another crafting video. I'm excited to be on with you today because I have completed another journal that I wanted to show you how it came out. But I also wanted to talk with you about the masterboard that I did. I did a short on creating a masterboard. If you missed that, I will link it in the description box. But I did a quick video on creating a masterboard using scraps. I saw a video on someone else's channel that I simply cannot remember, and I am so sorry that I don't remember the name of the person. If you guys remember it, be sure to let me know. But she had an amazing idea that when you finish a project and you have all these scrap pieces, my tendency, and you may be like me, my tendency is to gather all them scraps, put them in some type of sealed bag or something, and then put them to the side for use later. Her suggestion was, before you put those scraps away, create you a master board. Just laying those scraps onto paper in different ways, assembling them in different ways, and then you may find that you can use other or create other items, ephemera, things like that, using just the scraps that you had. And I absolutely love that idea. So that's what I did. When I finished the journal, the scraps I had, I used to create a masterboard. So I wanted to do a quick overview of the journal that I completed. So this is, of course, the cover, and then in the inside I have some pockets. I have some journaling papers here, some ephemera, and this is a belly band, a lace belly band. And then over here I also did a previous short on doing this 3-pocket layout on the page, and inside there's room for 3 tags here, or 3 journaling cards, and there's areas of course on the back for journaling, and then there's a tall one here that also has an area on the back for journaling. Oops. So if you missed that, I will link that in the description box as well, so you can take a look at that video. This of course is a over top flip over pocket that I just put a little tag in, and it's a tuck spot for your page too. So I just flipped it over the top of the page and then created 2 pockets and a tuck spot there. This one is a window pocket, and I just put, and this is part of the masterboard that I previously created, where I just cut it out into a large tag, and I'm actually going to add something here because I want something to peek through this window here. So I'm going to figure out something that I can add right there as well. But that's of course one of the ideas we'll talk about too. And then there's more areas here for journaling. There's some ribbon here. This is a flip out pocket page that I made using just envelopes here. And so in this pocket, there's of course this area for journaling. And again, these are just junk mail envelopes that I just covered and added. And then this one also has oh, that's upside down, sorry, an area on the back here for journaling. And this is another large tag that came again from the masterboard that I previously made too. So we'll talk about creating those as well. And then there's more areas here, more decorative paper here. This is a flip up, and it has a tuck spot underneath to add in more areas for journaling. This is a center envelope that I created using cut to create 2 pockets here. So again, this is a covered envelope, a junk journal envelope, and then I just put 2 file folder tabs here, and those are pockets there. And of course there's areas for journaling there. This is another tuck spot, a decorative page. This is another envelope that I used, and again, it's a flip out, and there's an area here for some journaling on the back, and that fits there. And then this is another large tag with some area for journaling on the back there as well. And then this little flip out here is a really thin and slender pocket, and it just has this cute little strip of paper here. I just thought it was super cute just to add that into a pocket here, and it kind of gives a little secret journaling spot, but still an area for journaling there as well. And then there's just a pull tab to make it easier to pull out. This is what another thing we're going to create today is just like a little specimen window tab here, and I made it into a tuck spot. So you can still have all this journaling, but there's a tuck spot here, and then you have this little specimen card too. And this is also something I used the masterboard for. It's just a top tab. You can make a tab and put it on the side. I just put it at the top to do something a little bit different, and then added some ribbon onto it as well, and it's just a way to move the pages back and forth. This is area again for journaling. Use some envelopes again to create a pocket, a V pocket, and then added some areas again for journaling here that can be used. And then this is part of the masterboard as well, and there's areas for journaling there as well. And then this is a back pocket, and I just made some more areas for journaling, this time with lined paper on the back. Okay, so that is the walkthrough of the journal that I created. So the first thing I want to create from this masterboard is the simplest one, of course, and that is just some tags. So I am choosing, and of course you can adjust these measurements to what works best for you, but I am choosing to cut mine down to 2.5, and I am going to do by 4.25. So it'll give me 2 tags, and they'll look like that. And I just love the way it turns out, how it looks, because of, you know, all the collaging that we've done on it. So I am going to use my little paper punch here, my little corner punch, and I'm just going to choose to cut my corners like so. Now this is where you kind of have to pay attention to, because sometimes if the paper wasn't all the way glued down, you might have to fix some things and make sure they're glued down all the way. So that's what I'm going to do here. Just fix these little paper edges to make sure that they stay where I want them to be laid. And this one too needs to be fixed. Okay, I think they're all secure now. Okay, so I'm just going to make the same hole punch on all 4 corners. Okay, and then of course, because you have now cut into that masterboard, you will have to likely ink your edges too, and I just have to glue down some of this coffee dyed paper that I added to the back of my sheet. It's coming up as well. Okay, so you have to ink these edges here just to eliminate those white spots that are now appearing because you cut into that paper. But this is also where you can now, if you choose to, you can add a tag here, and that makes it look even nicer. So let me just ink these edges down. There's a little bit of more paper coming up. Let's get rid of that, or seal that down. So just a little bit of repair work, and then you can ink your edges. And again, now you can add your tag onto it, or if you have something else you'd like to add onto it, you can do that there as well. So that is one thing that I will use my masterboard for, is to create these tags. So let's go to a second idea. For the next idea, we're going to create some specimen cards. And again, you all, be sure to adjust these based on your preference of the size, how you want it to look in your journal, etc. So I have cut this down to 2.5 by 2.5, and then I'm doing one at 2.5 by 2 3/4, and then this one is another one that's going to be 2.5 by 2.5. Okay, perfect. So again, you have to check, make sure if anything needs to be glued down a little bit better. So I'm just going to check these edges and glue down whatever pieces are hanging or not glued properly. So this is the one I'm going to go ahead and use, and all I'm going to do is use my little paper, my little circle punch here, line it up so that I can try to be even, just eyeballing where I can be even at, and then do a hole punch. Saving this, of course, because I can probably find a way to use it. And now you can see that it creates this little circle space in the middle. Now, normally you can use acetate, but I wanted to show you guys that on the previous one, all I did was use this wrapping paper. You know that many of our packaging, our paper packs come in this little wrapping, this little plastic wrapping paper. And that's all I'm going to use on the back here, is just to create a little see-through space here so that I can add a flower in the middle there. So I'm just applying glue on all 4 corners here, 4 sides, to add it to that packing tape. And this may take a little time to adhere because it is plastic, so it's not gonna adhere as quickly as paper might, but you should be able to get it on there with any ease. So yeah, this is just wrapping paper here. So if you don't have any ephemera, I'm sorry, any acetate, and I did forget that I did want to ink those 8 edges, so let me go ahead and try to do that. Just want to make sure there's not as much white showing. Get some of that white off. Thankfully, I have a little time to do that, so that's good. Okay, and I am, just for your to let you know, I am using the vintage photo in case you want to use that too. Okay, so now I can go ahead and cut off the excess of this plastic here. I think I've gotten it all off. Okay, and then I still have a little bit left here that I can use. And it will create an opening for me, like so. And so I am just going to add this little flower in there and position it where I want it to be so that it just looks like a little specimen flower in the middle there. And it will be just like that. I've positioned that flower where I want it to be in the center of that circle. So now I'm just going to seal up the plastic here by just applying glue on the edges. And then I will go ahead and close up this plastic pocket. Give that a little bit of time to adhere down, making sure it's secure in place. I am going to round the edges here. Again, just using my little punch. See, getting something caught there. Okay. And here. Okay, perfect. Let's get up some of these little scrapings. And then let me just ink those corners now that I've done that little paper punch there. I can ink those down. So what I'm going to do to add more decorative elements to this little specimen card, so to speak, I am going to create 3 holes here. And again, I'm just eyeballing and just adding something just a tad bit different to it. And now I'm going to go ahead and add 3 eyelets here and hope that turns out well. That's 1. That's 2. And then our final one here. And that's our 3rd one. Pretty cool. Okay. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a little bit of ribbon lace there, just like so. And then this can go, and I'll just use my fabric tack. And this can go in my journal as, if I want to use it as a tuck spot, or glue the whole thing down, or just clip it in, whichever way I want to use it. And it has a little bit of some netting that is an overhang on it as well. And there it is. So now this can go inside my journal just like that, and it becomes a cute little specimen tag that adds for decoration too. It is now the next day, and I am glad that I took that extra time because I really needed to have a little think about how I decorated that specimen card, and I did not like it. I did not like how I just laid that piece of ribbon on there. It wasn't appealing to my eyes. I just didn't care for it at all. And I'm wondering if some of you, when you saw me do it, if you were kind of yelling at the screen like, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? That does not look good at all. So again, I'm glad I took another day to think about it, and I was able to redecorate it. And this will be the final look of my specimen card. So just a close-up look of how it all came together. So let's now move on to another decorative element I will be doing using my masterboard. So for my next idea, I'm going to use this piece that I cut out from the masterboard, and it measures 3 by 4 1/4, and I'm going to use it as the background of a library pocket. So I have a piece of vellum that I'm going to use as the cover, and then we'll make that little library pocket there as well. So I do want to cut these corners on the top here like that, and then let me go ahead and ink them. And I just used my regular We Are Memory Keepers corner punch there, and then I'm just going to ink that. So I've taken a piece of vellum, a scrap piece of vellum, and I'm just going to, and this piece measures 4 by 3, and so I'm just going to go ahead and score it to create a pocket. So I'm just scoring it 1/2 inch on 3 sides so that it can be a pocket for me. And then I'll cut out these corners. I said easy, quick idea, but I think using the collaging from your masterboard as the background really adds a little something to it so that it looks even nicer. So that's the final look of it, and so I'll go ahead and glue that down. Just getting rid of some of those scraps there. So I can glue that down on the back, and it'll become a little pocket for me with the vellum cover, adding even more of a nice decorative element too. Perfect. And this is really cool too, because you can also add, you know, if you have some stickers that you want to add, or if you want to do a cluster right here, you could do a cluster. You could, when you affix this to the page in your journal, You could affix it as another pocket so that something else can fit on the background like that, but it really looks nice as a little library pocket using the background of your masterboard, collaging like so. Okay, perfect. So let's move on to another idea. For another option of what you might want to do is you can take a strip and create a little page edge for a tab edge for one of your papers in your journal. So I basically cut this strip at the length of the page that I'm using it on for my journal. So it's 7 3/4 in length. And then in the width, it's 1 1/4. So you can decide how wide you want it, how long you want it based on the page that you're choosing to attach it to. So all I'm going to do is take my notch punch and I'm just going to line up the left edge, center it in the notch, and hope that it goes through. I've been having such difficulty with my notch punch lately. It just is not trying to, I think maybe because I've had it for so long, but I don't think I've had it for that long. I don't know. Let's see. Okay, so I got it to cut out the second notch here, and the width of this tab is based on preference. However wide you want your tab to be, that's where you would notch it at again. And so all I'm going to do is use my cutting board to cut off this strip here. And I'm just going to line it up, make it straight, and then go ahead and cut that off. And then I have a little edge here, and so now I can go ahead and corner round. Let me get my corner rounder. Okay, and I'm just going to round this corner here like so, and then I can go ahead and ink my edges. I'm gonna save this actually, because I can use that. So then I can ink my edges so that the white underneath is not showing through. And then there's my little tab edge for my paper. And I can also choose to add some ribbon here and maybe layer it up with another piece like that, or I may want to find something a little bit thinner because it's kind of covering up my whole tab here. So let me see if I want to do this, or do I want to try something thinner? Let me see. So I brought out some different ribbon and decided to use that to create a decorative strip of ribbon there. This a little bit came up here, so I'm just going to add some more fabric glue there. And then on the edge here, I'm just going to add this other piece of decoration, because the whole idea is for this to kind of be an overhang on your journal so that it's kind of creating a layered look as well. So let me pull out a sample journal that I've been working on, and so I would apply it to this page like this, and then when you close it, then there's this overhang here where you could see it hanging out of the journal like that, and I love that kind of look there. So that's where I would add this at. So let me go ahead and decide how I want it. Yeah, and then add some, oh actually I can just use my regular art glitter glue on this part, because I'm just gluing paper to paper. There's no fabric on the back of this. So let me go ahead and add this, and again I'm just adding it to the edge of this paper to create this little tab but it also, with the overhang, creates a nice bit of decoration too, so that kind of sticks out on your page. I just want to make sure everything's even and lined up. Okay, perfect. Oh, that doesn't go there. Okay, so now you have this extra tab here, and you may decide that you don't want yours to stick out this much. I just kind of like it, and because I'm going to be adding lace borders on most of these pages anyway, I kind of like having this little tab here like that. So this is another idea of what you could do, and it's a great look because it already has the collaging in the background, and then you've added the lace here, and it just creates another way to turn your pages with the little tab there. So let's move on to a final way of how we can use our masterboard. The last idea I wanted to share with you was to create a frame. And so this piece that I cut out, and it could be any size piece, however small you want your frames to be. This is just going to be like double frames that are going to be just decorative in the journal on a page. So this measures 2.5 by 3.25. So again, it could be any size paper that you want it to be, depending on your preference of how big you want your frame to be. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to cut 1/2 inch on all 4 sides. I'm just using this mat. You could certainly use a knife, an X-Acto knife with your ruler. That would work as well. I just find that using this works really well for me too, because I can just sink my blade and then just make the cuttings and use the ruler on the side to guide me on how I want to cut it out. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut on all 4 sides at 1/2 inch. And then do the last one here. And hopefully that should come all the way out. And yes, it does. Okay, so now I have this frame here that I've just cut out, and so I want to cut a second one out. So I'm going to use the negative from this to create another frame for myself. So this is the negative space that we just cut out from this frame, and all I'm going to do is, instead of doing 1/2 inch, I'm going to do 1/4 inch on all 4 sides. I have a little bit left out of there. Okay, so let me get that out, and I'll just do the cutting on all 4 sides. You have to be a little bit more careful because this is such a smaller piece, but hopefully it will still come out right. And then this is my last side here, and let's cut that out, and I believe it should be done. Okay, perfect. Okay, so let's move my cutting board out of the way, and I will still keep this scrap because of course it can be used for something else. This actually would be, side note, this would be good for a label. Let me get my corner punch. One moment, I got distracted. Okay, yeah, so this little piece here, what you could do is, if you have a little angle punch like this, you could go put it in on the smallest, or let's see, maybe the second to the smallest, maybe the second to the middle one, and then cut it in your paper punch and do it on all 4 sides. And I think that would be a really cool label for you. And so now it has the shape of a label, and then you could add maybe some coffee dye paper here, make some lines in it, or stamp on it. that'll be a great idea for using as a label as part of your journal too. So just another idea. I thought I'd throw that one in there just because it came to mind because we had cut such a small piece here. So, but back to our frames. Let's go back to the frame. So let me just ink these edges, and then I'll show you what I'm going to do in the middle here. So I have these scraps of vellum, this decorative vellum that has the flowers on it, and I'm going to use that in the back of these frames like so. So I'm just going to go ahead and add some glue on the back here. And then add this vellum on there as well. And I think that looks really cute like that. And then for the smaller one, I have the same thing. I have a scrap piece of vellum, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to add some glue and add it on the back here. And that has a little overhang. Let me cut some of that off. Probably didn't cut it straight initially. Okay, and that needs to be, that's coming up. Glue this back down. Okay, so perfect. So now I have my two little frames here, and my idea was to overlap them like so, and so they would be on the page looking just like this. And then I could also add more decoration to it by adding some lace or some flowers, or you know, something to that effect I could add to make it have even more decoration. So this is how I'm going to let it lay on my page. And let me bring back out my journal so I can show you how it could look inside of the journal. So I'm going to use this page here, and I'm going to go ahead and add a little tab onto the back of the largest frame. I'm going to put it over here in the corner, and then my idea was to then add this one like so. So it still leaves space for journaling, but it just gives more decoration onto it as well. I think that's really nice. I like that a lot. So let me go ahead and glue that down. And there's our frames. So again, you could choose to decorate this even more. You could add more ephemera. You could stamp it a little bit, stamp with some numbers. There's other ideas of what you could do. You could have made this into a tuck spot, but I didn't want anything to interfere with the vellum and the background like that. So that's why I didn't make it into a tuck spot. But it still leaves room for even more opportunities for journaling as well. So that is our last idea. So let's kind of review the ideas we came up with on how we could use our masterboard. To review what we created today, let's go through the 5 items again together. So the first thing we did was we just made some tags, and these are the 2 that we created together. I just added a little bit of decoration by adding some hardware with an eyelid, some ribbon, and some vellum at the top. There is still opportunities to decorate this even more, which I will do, but I just wanted to show you how I started to try to decorate it. And again, there's still so much more that can be done with them. But these were our first 2 projects. We just created some tags as journaling cards that can be used inside of your journal as well. The second thing we did was we created a little specimen card, and it's just for decoration. It's just something that we can add into our journal that looks cute and it's eye-catching and appealing, and I really love it. So that was idea number 2. Idea number 3 was our little library pocket with the vellum on the front, and I liked using the vellum because it still allowed you to see underneath that collaging that was done using the scraps that we had, and you still have the vellum here. And there's still an opportunity to decorate this too. If you want to add some ribbon, some lace, that can all be done as well. And this, once you add it to your journal, you can just make it a larger pocket here, and then you have the secondary pocket there as well. So that was idea number 3. Idea number 4 was our page edge. So we added this little edge here on the on our page, and it allows you to have a tab here so that you can move the pages more easily back and forth. So this one was our what is that, our fourth idea, right? 1, 2, 3, yeah, fourth idea. Sorry, I got off that quickly. So that was idea number 4. Idea number 5 was our frames. So our frames with the vellum in the back, inside of the frames to add more decoration. And again, the opportunity here to decorate even more is sky's the limit of what you would like to do to decorate your album more. So just before I let you go, I wanted to let you know, because sometimes I get the questions about where I get the paper from. So this paper that I'm largely using in this album is from, these are Temu papers. So you've heard me speak about Temu papers in the past. I've talked about how they have a lot on their website, so I invite you to go ahead and take a look. They have such a huge selection of different types of paper that you can use for your journal. The second thing I wanted to make sure I let you know is about the vellum. So I know I may get a question about where did I get the decorative vellum. Michaels has I'm using past tense because I have not checked, you guys, in a very long time, so I cannot say for certain if they still have it. I'm pretty sure they do the last time I went in there. If not, they will likely maybe have it online, and you can purchase it online and have it shipped to you. But this is just a Recollections vellum paper pack, and it has all different types of vellum in it. I think my camera just flashed. If it did, I apologize. But I just wanted to give you a quick flip through of the different types of vellum pages that it has in there. I barely even used this, but it has some really nice vellum in it. It's only about 20 sheets maybe, but they're 12 by 12, so they can go the distance. And again, it's by Recollections from Michaels. So if you have an opportunity, you can certainly pick that up as well. So I thank you all so much for joining me on my channel today. I hope this video was a little helpful to you, gave you some inspiration of what you can do with your own journal, how you can create different things, create different elements. You can design different things that are eye-appealing inside of your journal by using a masterboard and collaging a little bit. It really does add something extra to your journals, and I hope you might consider doing one for yourself. If you have other ideas of how we could cut down a masterboard and what we could use it for and things like that, please be sure to put it in the comments. We would love to hear those ideas. Then we can use them in our own projects. So that would be really awesome. So thank you so much again for joining me on my channel today. I look forward to crafting with you all very soon in the near future. And until then, take care. Bye.